Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is going to be my top 100 comics in my collection. Um, and I got to kind of put a little asterisk by that because this first lot of 10, I'm going to divide this into 10 videos. But this first lot of 10, there's books that I could have switched out because I have so many books that are in that $900 to $1,200 range where they're kind of in that range depending on the day. They sometimes kind of fluctuate. Um, so I picked 10 of those, like to get this top, the first lot of 10, which is really in a price range of 1,100 to 1,200 range. I was amazed by how many books I have that kind of fit into that range. It's kind of weird. I guess that seems to be my buying price point. But then once we get into the next section, which is 1,200 up, it it makes more sense. It's like logically these are actually my next lot of 10 in terms of most expensive books. So these ones, there are a few others that I could have brought in, like I had Avengers number 8, Amazing Spider-Man number 13. Those were kind of on this list. Avengers number 4 was another one that I had that I could have shown, but those ones I didn't show. And instead I showed the ones that I'm going to show because I think the ones I'm going to show are kind of cool. So they're the ones I chose to show for this first lot. They're all in that same price range. So it was really me picking and choosing at this point. So with all that said, this series is going to be 100 comics, my top 100 most expensive comics in my collection. And this part is going to be from 100th to 91. And the cool thing is my top 100 books, just the ones that I'll be showing in these videos, it's almost $500,000 worth of comics. Just 100 comics out of my over 20,000 books in my collection equals $500,000. So it amazes me how much these comics have gone up in the last few years. So some of these haven't gone up much, but I want to get into them. I want to show you what I have because there's some really great stuff here. And I'm going to try to get into the details of why I bought the books because it's going to be 10 videos. So I really want to get into the details more. This first one I bought because I just thought the character was kind of cool. It's the first female superhero with superpowers. And there's another character who also kind of fit that role. So there's a bunch of these female superheroes that are kind of early. So this is kind of debatable, okay, in terms of whether she was truly the first, but she was before Wonder Woman. And I'll show you this one. It is Famous Funnies 81. Now, this book, I priced it out based on how much I paid for it. So it's a 4.0, you can see, and it is it presents really well. It could have actually probably graded higher if it wasn't for the spine. Just along there's like a slice or something going on along the spine, and it just brought the grade down. But other than that, it presents extremely well. This is the first appearance of Scarlett O'Neill, and she's kind of like the girl from Fantastic Four. She can turn invisible. She can, Invisible Girl. Well, she's Invisible Girl from the Golden Age. Now, this is from 1941. As I said, it was like 6 months before Wonder Woman came out. So it's kind of cool, or a few months. How many months? Yeah, roughly 6 months before Wonder Woman came out. So it's kind of cool that, this is a earlier superwoman or superhero kind of girl with powers character. And I just really love this cover, actually, is another reason why I like this book. You got this, she's going in, I don't know why she has to be invisible to do this, but she's going into a building to save a young child from a burning building. It's just like it's kind of cool. I like the cover. I think it's really great. And this book cost me $1,020. So it's sort of at the very bottom of these books. Um, but I've seen it listed as much as $3,000 for a similar grade. So it's one of those ones where there's just not that many on the census. So it's really hard to judge the value of the book because there's just not many on the census and there's no real sales data to go by. Okay, the next one has a lot on the census and is a much more well-known book. This is Tales to Astonish number 35, and this is the first full appearance of Ant-Man where he's in costume. And you got the little ant here, and he's got the helmet, he's got the whole suit, and it's a really interesting cover because in a weird way, it's especially cool that I'm holding it at this weird angle because it kind of suits the book. You're kind of seeing it from his perspective, and everybody is like tall and kind of like, he's shrunk down, and everyone's really big and like kind of stretched out. I think it makes it a really great cover. I'm a big fan of Ant-Man. I like these characters that can change sizes. I think that's really cool superpower. So this is Ant-Man. Really, I've had debates about this book. I actually did a video about the debate surrounding this book. But just to add to maybe resolving that debate, this is kind of the book that I believe really made the first book, which is Tales to Astonish 27, the first appearance of Ant-Man. Because in this, they say the return of Ant-Man. So they retcon the other one, and that becomes his first full appearance. So that's a debate I've been having with some other people, and I think that this becomes the first costumed version of Ant-Man, but Ant-Man's real first appearance of Hank Pym and Ant-Man is in 27. But this is Tales to Astonish 35, which is the first costumed version of Ant-Man. I know that sounds very confusing, but the people that I'm having the debate with will appreciate that, I think. Okay. So the next book, actually, and I got this. So this one's worth now about $1,050, by the way. I paid about $300-400 for it. So it's gone up quite a bit since I bought it. The next book, I paid about $500 for this book, and it's in really high grade, but it would be even higher if it wasn't a bit faded. The colors are not that sharp. I've seen other versions of this same book where the colors are really, really vibrant, like the flag is a lot more bright, and also his costume is much more red. But this one's a little faded, and that's why it got still 7.5. It's a high grade. But this is, C.C. Beck cover. C.C. Beck is kind of the Captain Marvel artist. He's like the really well known for his artwork. But this book is very cool because it's the first appearance of Mr. Mind. Now, Mr. Mind was an interesting thing within the whole Captain Marvel storyline, because what Mr. Mind was somebody who was organizing all of the supervillains against Captain Marvel. And it was kind of that concept of let's team up against the hero. And the first few books that featured Mr. Mind, you never see Mr. Mind. He's always just a voice, this kind of disjointed, you don't know what he looks like. And you can only imagine, I can imagine, if you had bought this series back in the day, you'd be like imagining all these kind of sinister looking people. And then in this book, Mr. Mind gets revealed. And so you get to see Mr. Mind for the first time. And he's just a worm. He's just like this little worm, caterpillar worm. He's like a little wormy like guy. And in a way, it's kind of underwhelming, but kind of cool at the same time, because Mr. Mind is this brilliant worm that is manipulating all the other villains in order to take out Captain Marvel. And it was just a really great little serial that happened within the Captain Marvel books. And this was the very first appearance of Mr. Mind. Now, if you watch the Captain Marvel movie or Shazam movie, they actually show Mr. Mind in the book, in the movie twice, kind of. The first time they show him was when Billy Batson goes to where he gets the powers. He goes to that different world. He gets the powers. He meets the wizard, and you can see like a little caterpillar worm-like guy in like behind glass. Well, at the very end of that movie, you see that that same glass has been broken and Mr. Mind has escaped. So I think that this is a great book, potentially for spec purposes, because maybe Mr. Mind, now that he's released, can take a greater role in Shazam 2. So really great book. I really love this book. I paid about $500 for it, and it's worth about $1,100. Okay. So next one is Superman number 30. Now this book I actually just recently got a few months back. It's a 2.5 restored. I tried to not show too many restored books on this list but a lot of my books are restored. Sometimes that's the only way that you can afford some of these big books. When it's a low grade, and it is a grade where it's like slight, like you'll see slight C1, and that means amateur restoration, but very, very light amount of restoration. And in this case, this book was a small amount of color touch on the cover. So there was a little bit of color touch that was done, and therefore it got the slight restoration. Now, removing that slight restoration, you'd probably still get the same grade. So the value between a restored and unrestored, it's like 90%. So it's like you get a little bit of a discount to buy it restored. I was able to talk the guy down a little bit more than that, but still it was an expensive book. And as it's like that, around $1,100 for this book. And if it was unrestored, it would be it'd be around $1,300 roughly. So yeah, but you're probably wondering, why would I buy this book? What's so cool about it? Well, this book is the first appearance, and I'm going to brutalize the name. It's one of those characters that deliberately has a name that is impronounceable. But I'm going to try, and this will be entertaining, because I'm going to try to pronounce his name, and I'm going to fail, and you're going to comment below, no, it's pronounced like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I fail at this, but I'm going to try. Mixaplex. Now, Mixaplex, as I said, I'm not great at his name, is this kind of like Gazoo-like character who's basically super powerful and just causes problems. He's kind of a quirky, fun character, and he brings like comic relief to the Superman title. There's a bunch of these characters, like Batman has Batmite, Fantastic Four, for example, which is not DC, but Marvel, they had Mr. Impossible, or Impossible Man, I should say. There's characters that are brought in for this purpose of just being like ultimately super powerful, that even the superhero can't do anything about them, and they're at the whim of these crazy, quirky characters. I like those kind of quirky characters, so I really wanted to get this first appearance. And this is the first appearance of that character, Mixaplex. So Superman 30, kind of a cool comic. Nice cover, too. There was another one I was looking at that was actually almost the same price, but it had like big section of it missing. So I was kind of happy that I could get it where it was complete. Nice cover. It presents reasonably well. Okay, the next book on my list showcases so much of the Golden Age. Like what kind of defines some of the great elements of the Golden Age. And this is Fighting Yank 23. Now, this is purely a comic that collectors will seek because of the cover. And the reason they seek it is for these elements. Now, this is an Alex Schomburg cover. Alex Schomburg is considered one of the great artists from the Golden Age. This is from 1948. And I'll tell you some of the elements that collectors will look for. Now, one of the things is women in peril. Like, and you'll notice in my collection, I show a lot of women in peril comics. Well, in this case, it's this cobra, and she's being basically held, and the cobra is probably going to strike her. She's going to get poisoned. She's going to die. And so that's one element. The other element is the woman in the red dress. It's always this, one of the like the heroines that they, or women that they like to have that is in women in peril situations, is a blonde in a red dress. it is the tropiest trope of the Golden Age. It's always a woman in bondage, usually wearing a red dress with blonde hair. it's a thing. And that she has all those elements. Another thing that is really shown in a lot of Schomburg covers especially is the hero in the background. He's always just out of reach. And I think what they're trying to do in creating this image where they show the hero just beyond where he can save the heroine or the woman is it creates that suspense. Will he make it in time? You know, it's like always Superman's always given that choice where he has to save Lois or save some other thing, and he ends up doing both. You know, but it's always that kind of, will he make it in time? That's kind of one of those classic tropes of comics in general. And that's what is being created here, with the hero being kind of in the distance and he's rushing to save the girl. The other great element about this cover is the hooded figures. Now, the great thing about hooded figures, they can just be naturally evil. Like you know, and that's even today, we would see hooded figures, KKK, well, they're pretty evil. So very, you know, people have a low opinion of hooded figures. Something about not showing your face, this whole deception element makes for evil character, and you can show them doing this evil act. So it's really great. We got so many elements going on here with the hooded figures. They're holding her down, you know, and they're presenting a snake for her to get bitten by. So you don't know if they're going to perform some ritual on her, what's going on. And all of those story elements that are happening here create interest and make you want to buy the comic. So I really love this cover. This is Fighting Yank, number 23. And I think I paid about $800-900 for it. It was in that range. Now it's worth about $1,100. Okay. Next one. Actually, it still has the price sticker on it. I got this from Paradise Comics in Toronto. That's Canadian dollars. Actually, they gave me a discount. So I paid, I think it was about 1,200 Canadian I paid, which works out to being about $900 to $1,000 US. So around that range. This comic goes for around $1,100 to $1,200 now. And this is the first appearance of Brainiac. Now, Brainiac is, to me, one of those characters that's really cool because his power is that he's super smart. Super, you know, he's got those, you know, his brain waves and all this kind of awesome stuff. So we get, this book is one of those ones that I really like because you got Brainiac on the cover. You got an origin story. So this is all in one kind of thing. You got them on the cover. You got the first appearance. You got the origin story. You got it all in one book. Usually, especially with the Golden Age, or this is Silver Age, because it's 1958, usually you have like a series of books that you would have to seek. You got that first cameo, then you got the first full, then you got the first cover, then you got the first origin story, then you got, it's like so many books. Well, this book has it all in one. That's what's somewhat great about it. So you got Brainiac, and he's just, I like the juxtaposition of position on this one, because you got Brainiac just standing there. He's just like, he's just standing there in like, I'm superior, like, kind of way. And you got Superman unable to do anything about it. And he looks like he's like really trying, but can't do anything about it. And it's a really great image. Just show that, like, what makes a villain really awesome is when the villain is in some ways better than the hero. If the hero is better than the villain, there's no hill to climb. There's no excitement. If the villain is like, this is like a total aside, but I think of the movie Star Wars, the crappy ones that were made recently, the second one, where you have Commander Hux, I think his name is, and he's just a buffoon. He's a total idiot. Well, that's why the movie was so bad. You don't feel like there's any like risk when you're going up against somebody that is incompetent. What makes a villain villainous and a threat is when they are better than you, and you have to overcome them somehow. And if you watch any great movies where there's this dynamic of good versus evil, evil is generally stronger than good. But somehow through whatever powers or some luck or some just sheer willpower, the good guy beats the bad guy. And that is what makes comics interesting, or makes stories interesting, is when you have that dynamic where the villain is more powerful than the hero. And this imagery really showcases that dynamic, because it's like, wow, he's more powerful than Superman? Oh my goodness. It's like, that's pretty cool. So this is Action Comics number 242, the first appearance and origin and cover appearance of Brainiac. Just a really great character. Okay, now this one is kind of interesting, and my comic shop, my local comic shop, I bought this from, and then later got it graded, and it was really pretty. I could tell that this book was higher grade than what he thought it was. I think I paid $400 for this Canadian, which is around $3 something US. This is Ghost Rider #1. Really great book. I'm a big fan of Ghost Rider. I even like the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider. I actually enjoyed it. So this is Ghost Rider #1. This is his first title series. This is a hot book actually right now. His first appearance has become like I think the most expensive book from the Bronze Age, and now this, so it kind of really brings the spotlight to this book, which is the next best thing for Ghost Rider. His first titled #1, Ghost Rider #1. So, and you'll see the other book later in the list. but this is Ghost Rider #1. It has white pages. It is a 9.0. So when you get it into that high grade, this becomes like a $1,200 book. And it is really nice. I think it could even get a higher grade. I think they graded a little harsh. And the only flaw, like the spine is really, like, there's not any ticks on the spine. There's only one little, like a little blemish in that corner. And that's it. That's the only thing that's wrong with this book. It is just really, really pretty. So this is, you know, about $1,100 to $1,200 book. So Ghost Rider #1, and just a really great book. I'll show you the back too. Just, you got the. This is the kind of back I always remember from comics, like these, like where they have like just so many little toys and stuff. I always like that. Okay, so Ghost Rider #1. I really like that book. Okay. Next is one that I got from Ryan from Automatic Comics. And I forgot how much he charged me. I think it is what fair market value is for this book. It's like $1,200 book. But this is a hard book to find. It is one of those books that, sure, the fair market value is $1,200, but getting somebody to sell you it for that price is really, really hard. It is a hard book to find. This is Junior #15. Now, I'm a big fan of Junior and its kind of corresponding book, Sunny, because of the artist. These books featured a lot of headlight covers and sexy good girl art covers. Now, the artist for these books is Al Felstein. Now, Al Felstein, during this time period, he was just starting out in his career, and he worked for Fox Publishing. Now, Fox Publishing is known for basically working their employees to death. They would, just have them grind out as much stuff as they could. And Al Felstein, he worked hard for this book. He did everything. He did, like, usually you got like an inker, you got a penciler, you got a script person, you got the writer, you got like 20 different people make a comic. Well, Al Felstein did everything. He pretended that there was other people that were involved, but he actually did it all himself. And it is a passion and love project, I would say. And it's just really great. This is one of the best covers from the Junior run. So this is Junior #15, and it's just a really great cover. And it's one that a lot of collectors will seek. So Junior #15, about a $1,200 book. So all these ones in this first 10 will be that $1,200 range. Okay, so there's 2 left that I have to show, and will be like number 92 and 91, I guess. So this is 92. And this one features the artwork, one of the sort of more iconic covers from another great artist from the Golden Age. Now, Golden Age books, there's a few things that people do when they collect Golden Age books. One of the things that they do is they search for that first appearance, like the grails, right? But a lot of those are just crazy expensive. The next thing people do is they collect great covers and great artists. Okay, so those are the big things that people do when collecting the Golden Age. This is that great cover and great artist. So this is Terrifying Tales #13. This is L.B. Cole cover, so a very famous, popular artist. He's popular for the color choice. Like, he just did these really crazy covers. These colors that are just really vibrant and like almost. Let me just take this out of the plastic so you can really see how great the colors are, because they are just amazing. So you can see it's just like these almost psychedelic before psychedelic existed. This is Terrifying Tales #13. You got this devil guy up top, flames all around him, and you got this girl. She's in bondage. She's not wearing the red dress, sorry, but no red dress this time. But she's in bondage. She's in like some kind of leopard suit or something. And you got these kind of voodoo-like people in behind. I'm not sure if you can see those that well, if it comes across on the camera. But just a really great cover. And that's purely what this is. This is a cover by these these Terrifying Tale books actually they featured reprints. But the interior was generally from either JoJo Comics or from some Fox publication actually. Usually other stories. And what they would do is to make them new, uh, even though it's a reprint, they would. This is from Star Comics. Is they would redo the cover, so they would put a new cover on it. Get LB Cole to do the covers. So a lot of these Terrifying Tales are all pretty much LB Cole covers. And you'll get Terrifying Tales, Terrors of the Jungle, and there's a bunch of titles that they basically brought back at the end of the Golden Age. So this is a classic. I'll read the notes because they're kind of interesting. Classic devil cover, bondage cover, LB Cole cover. Just a really great cover, and that's why I got it. I like LB Cole, and this is just a classic cover. It is one that collectors will seek, and it's really rare, really hard to find. Now this last book is one that childhood me would always want. This is like when I was seeking big books. Like most people would go after like, some superhero book or something like that. Well, for me, one of the big things that I loved as a kid was the Peanuts. I love Snoopy. I was a big Snoopy fan. I had like embarrassingly so. I had like all these Snoopy toys. I had like little cars with Snoopy inside them. I had plush dolls with Snoopy, and then I had like all the wardrobes. Like you get like different wardrobes. You could dress your Snoopy doll up and like a whole bunch of different costumes. I loved that. I just thought Snoopy was the greatest thing. I was really into Snoopy. I had a Snoopy wallet, I had a Snoopy watch, I had a Snoopy belt, I had Snoopy bed sheets, I had Snoopy everything. Snoopy plates, Snoopy cups. Oh, I was a big Snoopy fan. And so one of the books I really wanted to get was Snoopy's first appearance. And Snoopy, his first appearance is in this book, Tip Top Comics 173. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, is that really his first appearance? Because there's another book, which is United Comics number 21, which came out in the same week. Okay? Or maybe a week apart. It was like they were kind of really close. This book came out slightly earlier. It just, nudged the other for that number one or first appearance. So even CGC, because they really did, these two books came out at almost the same time. They will denote it ties with United Comics 21. Both came out in the third and fourth months of 1952 for first comic appearance of the Peanuts. So the Peanuts, just so you know, like in terms of characters, would be like Snoopy, Charlie Brown, Lucy, Linus, all the major characters associated to the Peanuts. And this is their first appearance. So really, just a really great book to have. I actually got, because I'm one of those people that likes to have both. I got both. So I actually have United Comics number 21 as well, but it is not in this top 100 list because it's maybe a $900 book. It didn't make the list. In order to be in the list, you have to be above almost $1,100. So this book made it into the list, the other didn't. And this goes for about $1,200 in this low grade. If it was a higher grade, the price goes really quickly up. It is amazing how expensive this book can be. So that is my first 10 books. And you can see, like, if I had shown all 100, I wouldn't be able to go into these details. Can you imagine? It would be like a really long video. It'd be like a 3-hour video or 4-hour video. So I hope you enjoyed this video where I kind of show the first 10 out of my top 100 books. I'm going to post these every Saturday going for the next 10 weeks. And I hope you enjoy them. I hope that you find that it's interesting and that you can learn a little something from each of these that I show. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye for now.